All right, so now in this section, we're moving on to high ticket closing. We've already spoken about low ticket closing, philosophy. So a lot of what you've learned from before is actually going to be necessary for you to understand how high ticket closing works, because all of those skills from the low ticket closing, for example, in terms of objection handling, building rapport, that's all still relevant with high ticket closing too. It's just that there's some extra nuances that you need to know about high ticket when you start moving up and you are doing it at this level. So with high ticket closing, the difference between this and low ticket is that now you're selling people on offers that are a higher percentage of their income and longer term commitments in most cases. So this is like houses, for example. If somebody's selling real estate, sometimes they can make a deal where somebody is borrowing hundreds of thousands more than they actually have themselves. Why? Because it's that much value in terms of what they get. So it could be a longer term commitment in that sense as well, because that could be a 25-year amount that they're paying that off. But the reason that they're willing to do it is because they see it as being valuable. And this means that you have significantly more impact through less effort on their life by adding more value. So if you really want to be somebody who is truly impacting the world, and that's something that you deeply care about, you have to learn high ticket closing. It's simply non-negotiable. There's a few common misconceptions when it comes to high ticket closing, and one of the biggest misconception about it is the notion that high ticket is harder than low ticket. High ticket is actually not harder than low ticket. Like, it's actually, in my opinion, so much easier. And the reason why is because you're going to sell products which are actually good. These are going to be luxury products that people really fucking want, that have the money. The only difficulty with high ticket closing is finding the people in your market. Once you found the people in your market, the close itself is so freaking easy because it's a no-brainer in terms of it being an irresistible offer. And in fact, the fact that it has a higher price makes the prospect seem to think that this is higher quality. Not just higher quality, but also it's higher value. So the perceived value, the price as being higher, makes the prospect believe that they're going to get more from this, and it's lower risk. If you can sell low ticket, you can do the same thing to sell high ticket. This is another high ticket misconception. If you can sell low ticket, you can do the same thing to sell high ticket. It's not the case. You have to do a different process in terms of how you can really be able to close the high ticket deals with consistency so they don't fall through. So with low ticket, it's a little bit different. With high ticket, you're going to use a lot of the principles from low ticket and a lot of the strategies, a lot of the skills, but now it's a couple of extra things you have to be aware of. So first thing to take down and take note of is impulse versus logic. So when you think about what impulse is you making an emotional decision from feeling. And that is going to be because either you're afraid something's going to happen, you're afraid that the deal's not going to be there for any longer, or it's because you have the faith and you feel that this is going to be an exciting thing for you to go ahead and do. And so you just do it based on the feeling in the moment. Now, if we're doing a logic-based decision, there's no feeling present whatsoever. And what we have to understand about closing is that closing is about helping people, right? It's about helping people make decisions. That's literally it. And so your job as a closer is not to do anything other than help the prospect make the best decision, whether or not they buy your product. And as long as you have a good product, you will have lots of people buy from you after teaching them how to make good decisions and guiding them through this process. So short-term decisions can be made on impulse because they tend to be reversible and they can be recovered from, even if it's not the best decision. For example, what if you buy some food from a local takeaway? Worst case scenario, you get food poisoning and you die. To be honest, I bought some fruit from Uber Eats the other day. Worst case scenario is that it didn't even show up and I went hungry for the entire night. That's the worst case scenario. I didn't die the next day. It's unlikely that you would die, But if you suffer during that period from that purchase, even if you suffer, it's not going to be for long. Maximum, it's going to be a day, 2 days, 3. That's it. And so we can make these impulsive short-term decisions. We can help people make impulsive short-term decisions, knowing that really the downside risk is never going to be that high. There's not much to lose. Long-term decisions, however, must be made with more logic because they tend to be more irreversible and tougher to recover from if it's not the best decision. For example, if you're marrying somebody, that's a long-term decision, which takes a lot more commitment because you got to pay for a wedding, you got to pay for the honeymoon and things like this, the ring. Worst case scenario for this is that you live a miserable life until you die with someone that you can't stand and make your children suffer through this also. That's the absolute worst case scenario. Now, this is actually quite costly because it's not just involving you, but it's involving other people, which can affect their entire upbringing because psychologically they don't recover from this. And they end up becoming murderers or becoming whatever, right? So worst case scenario is huge with something like marrying somebody, which is why when it comes to making this decision, we want to make this decision, help somebody make this decision through logic and as opposed to it just being feeling. If it's just feeling, our feelings are going to get us, to experience that chemistry because that's how we're programmed as human beings. But that is not going to be the best decision going forwards. It has to be done through compatibility. And so if we're helping somebody invest into a high ticket offer, we must help them make a logical justification and focus on that as to why they should buy the offer with the 3 scenarios of going ahead with it and not going ahead with it also. Now, this isn't to discount that I would, of course, use some emotion within the sale too, because people buy emotion and then they reason with logic. It's just that as soon as they bought with the emotion, I'm helping them through reasoning with logic also. And so I go through the best and realistic and the worst case scenarios where we look at what would happen if you did it, best case scenario, worst case, and realistic. And what would also happen if you didn't do it? Best case scenario, realistic, and worst case. A lot of people, where they go wrong is that they only look at the best, worst case, and realistic for doing it. They don't look at what happens if they don't do it, right? So you have to look at both. Now, once you've helped them describe accurately what are the 3 scenarios for both you, for both scenarios, then what you want to do is assign a number for each of how ideal this scenario is as demonstrated below. Whichever is the highest average is the one that you go for. So let's say, for example, my best case scenario is that, I become super wealthy, a billionaire, and have the life of my dreams, traveling, doing everything I want to do. It's an absolute 10 out of 10. But the worst case scenario is only a 2 out of 10, where I end up going back into a job or something and with a little bit of debt to pay or something like that, right? That's the worst case scenario. It's a 2 out of 10. It's not ideal. But in comparison to the absolute worst case scenario of not doing it might be not doing it means that I'm in that job, I'm still in debt, but I also have that thing playing on my mind, which is what if I gave it a shot? And the identity of being the person who doesn't even try, right? So that's like a 1 out of 10 versus what it could be like as a 2 out of 10. And so what I do is I calculate the average score for each I want to add up 10, 5, and 2, divide that by 3, gives me 5.6, and do the exact same thing for not doing it, gives me 3.6. And then looking at the numbers, I simply go for the one that's the highest number. No argument about it whatsoever. And so when you can help your prospect make a decision by using this system, then every single time they're going to go about doing it, especially if, and this is the important part, especially if before going ahead with this process, you get them to agree with you that this system is how we're going to help you make the decision. Whichever one we get as a number is where you're going to go going forwards. So you are not obsessed about this outcome thing, about you getting your sale. It's more about, I'm going to help you make the best decision by going through this system. Whatever happens, I'm happy with you as long as you make the best decision possible. And so now we move on to something called consultative. It's a hard word to say, consultative selling. And the way that it works is that it's a bit different to traditional sales. Traditional sales that you're used to if you've just gone into sales and nobody's taught you at a high level is that traditional sales will focus on the products. Traditional sales will focus on using a standard sales pitch that you just pitch to every single person through law of averages. Traditional sales is a one-size-fits-all solution that you offer people. It's just, yeah, I'll help you with affiliate marketing. I'll help you with drop shipping. I'll help you with this. That's not consultative sales. That's traditional sales. Traditional sales is short-term selling relationship. It's the low-ticket stuff where you're gonna do something with somebody and it's only gonna be short-term. Ideally, when we're looking at consultative sales, we are focused more so on the long-term approach, long-term selling, which, traditional sales can still be used for low ticket. Don't get me wrong, it works. But if we're going to do high ticket, it has to be through consultative sales, where it's more of a long-term selling relationship. You're going to give custom solutions instead of a one-size-fits-all. And also it's more prospect focused instead of it being product focused. And here is where we're not going to use a standard sales pitch. We're more so going to listen and ask questions through what we call Socratic dialogue, which we're going to teach about in world-class communication. You're going to ask questions and listen, and then through what they've given you as intel, that's why you throw in a pitch which is custom made to whatever they've said that they want, right? So whatever you sell what they want instead of what it is that you already have. That's consultative sales. Now, one of the biggest things that is going to be a pain for you during high ticket sales is when you build up so much excitement and you've got all of this pipeline ready to go to close, but then what ends up happening is that they get cold feet and it ends up a deal falling through. This happens a lot more in high ticket than it does in low ticket, especially when people don't have the solutions in place that I'm going to be showing you over here. So to prevent this from happening and going through what I've had to go through, what loads of other high ticket closers have had to go through, this is some of the things you want to look towards. With high ticket, the actual close is not the difficult part when you have a good product. It's more about the buyer's remorse that naturally kicks in when a buyer experiences the second thoughts that creep up once they've made their agreement. This is why it is super important to have a professional onboarding process at high ticket that instantly and every day up until they have their product in their hands, it provides them a pleasant experience, right? They get a pleasant experience instantly. So that would look like, for example, you end up selling to somebody right there and then in the moment, they sign the forms, everything, they go home. And before they even go home, they're getting these second thoughts in their mind in the car. So what do? You send a little voice note, and the voice note in there just shares a little bit of value as to what it is that they're going to get as an extra. You over deliver. And from that, automatically alleviates the pain. It makes them feel a little bit more like this is somebody who I can trust. And then when they get home, by the time they got home, you've even sent them a card out. And the next day they get a card and they're like, it's a welcome gift or it's a welcome pack. All of these things help so much when it comes to cancellations, when it comes to making sure that these deals are not falling through at the high ticket level. So you want to think about how you can implement this too. So yeah, that's really some of the additional things that I wanted to add when it comes to the high ticket. Really, there's not much of a difference between selling in low ticket versus high ticket. So what you really want to be able to do is go through the low ticket closing video many times over, a lot more than you do with a high ticket one. But with this one, just know the differences and know the nuances as well. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. But thanks for watching this one. And I'll see you on the next one where we'll go through some more stuff on closing as well. So I'll see you there.